Okay, so today we're going to be talking about converting between fractions, decimals, and percents. So we're going to start by taking a decimal and converting it to its equivalent fraction in percent. And it tells us in our directions, be sure to write fractions in simplest form. And I'm going to underline that just to remind ourselves later. I think that's important information. So when I take a decimal and write it as a fraction, I'm going to read it, write it, reduce it. So decimal to fraction, read it, write it, reduce it. And that's a decimal to a fraction. So I read this as 0 and 88 hundredths. I'm going to write it as 88 hundredths or 88 over 100 as a fraction, and then I'm going to reduce it. I know that 4 goes into both of those numbers, so I'm going to divide by 4, and when I do that I get 22 over 25. So my fraction here is 22 over 25. When I convert a decimal to a percentage, I just move the decimal 2 places to the right. So I'm going to take this decimal, go 1, 2, and this becomes 88%. Just like it was 88 out of 100, it becomes 88% out of 100. So I'm going to do one more example for you here. Read it, write it, reduce it. I read this as 0 and 31 hundredths. I'm going to write it as 31 hundredths. I actually don't think that there's a common factor between those two, so that's already in simplest form, 31 over 100. To convert it to a percentage, I'm going to take my decimal and go 2 places to the right, and I get 31%. At this point in the video, I would challenge you to try the next 4. Pause the video, try the next 4, and then when you're done, you can play the video to check your work. I'm just going to write out. I'm not going to talk in the last part of the video, but you can at least watch my steps and see my work for the last 4 problems after you try them on your own. Okay, so again, I'm going to be doing, you should have paused and you should have answers for these next 4. You're just going to watch me do and make sure that your answers match mine. That doesn't make sense. This should be 16. So this last one can be a little bit tricky because the decimal is already a whole number. So when I write it as a decimal again, it's just the same thing. But that 0 we do add to make this 200%. So now you can see all 4 answers for those last 4. Hopefully yours match mine. And then you can watch the next video when you open up to the next section of your notes.